Hi all, this is the third video in this series of integrating Syncfusion components into an ASP.NET Core MVC project. Here in this video, we'll be demonstrating the Syncfusion component grid with paging and sorting. Along with that, we'll be adding a page header for all the pages inside the application with the Breadcrumb component. Now we'll be doing the delete operation later, and we also need to implement form validation here. Before that, I just want to replace this HTML table with the Syncfusion grid, which is what I'm most excited about. So let's do that first. Now the list of inserted records are retrieved inside the index action method here, and which is displayed inside the index view for the category. Now let's get rid of this table here. Now go to the documentation. Now you can see the component grid. Now here we have the controller EJS grid. Now everything about this component is documented in detail here. Okay. Now let me show you how to use them in our project for listing inserted categories. Let's add the bootstrap grid system like we have done with the add or edit view. Now inside the second column here we can show an icon for our some icon like we have inside this form here. So here we have the component EJS grid. So here we have the ID. Now the list of categories that is returned from the index view can be made available inside the view with the model syntax here. Now we are going to assign that to this component with the property data source, which is a property available for the grid. So model. If you want to know the available properties for the component, you can go to the API reference like I have shown before. Search for the component. You can see the component grid under Syncfusion EJS grids. And here we have the list of properties available for the component. Now in order to configure columns inside this grid, we can make use of this component grid columns. For each column, we could do this grid column, specify the header text. First of all, we have the category itself, which is the title. Now with this property field, we have to specify the property which is to be binded to this column here. So we are going to assign this title property to the first column. Now let me copy paste this below. Now let's specify the type here, and here we have the corresponding property, and then we'll be having a column called actions. Inside this column we'll be showing the buttons for edit and delete operation. We can do that in a bit. Now let's build the project. Back to the view. Boom, that's it. So this is how the default grid looks like. Now first of all, I want to remove these grid lines here. For that, we can make use of this property grid lines is equal to none. Now let's add some custom CSS rules for the grid inside the global style sheet site.css. Now for better clarity, inside this custom CSS rules, I will add everything in ascending order. So let's put the grid here. Now I will paste the CSS rules that I have prepared for the grid. Now please excuse me for putting these CSS rules directly without explanation. If you are going for the explanation, now this tutorial will be even longer, so we don't want that. You can see all of these classes are from the Syncfusion library itself. You can see them if you inspect the controller. Let's save and build the project and back to the view. So this is how the component looks like with the custom CSS rules that I have just added. Now for better demonstration of the features available inside this grid, let me add few more categories into the form. For that, for now, I will be using the URL here, add or edit. In a bit, we'll be adding a separate button to navigate the fresh form. Now in total, we have 10 categories here. Now while adding categories, we have mentioned the icon in a separate text field. Now we want to show the same inside this table here. For that, back to the category model, we are going to add a new property just for the purpose of combining both of these title and icon. And we'll be showing that property inside the first column here. This property has nothing to do with the structure of the corresponding table, so we have to mark this with the attribute not mapped. Now here we have the property of the type nullable string, and let's name this property as title with icon. Now we are not going to use this property for assigning the value, so let's remove this set accessor here. Now we could do this return, so we just need to concat both icon and title. In between them, let's add a white space. Now let's use this property for the first column here. Build the project, back to the view. That's it. Now instead of showing this category type as expense and income, I want to show them within Bootstrap badge, which you can see inside the documentation of the Bootstrap here. Now I want to show them inside these badges here. Now if you have such a requirement for displaying the data within a column, we can use templates within grid. Let me show you that here. Instead of directly passing the field as type, we can use this property template. Now all of these are mentioned inside the documentation. Let me show you that first. Under columns, you could see this column template. You see here we have the template attribute, and the template is defined here within a script of the type X template. We'll be doing the same. So let me copy this and just paste it over here. The corresponding ID will be type column. Let me get rid of this default div here. Now we can have the Bootstrap badge like this. Class is equal to badge. Now here we have to put the property type from the model here. For that, we can use this syntax with the $sign, just like the string interpolation in JavaScript. Type. So this property will be replaced with its value during the rendering process. Now let's paste this ID here. Now make sure to prefix the ID with the hashtag like this. Now along with the badge, we have to add the background color. So based on whether we have an income or expense type, we can change the background color. For that, we can have this if clause. Just use the $symbol, and inside that we have the if clause. Now let's specify the condition here. If type is equal to income, we will apply this background color BG success. Now here we have the else part. Now let me duplicate this pan and let's move it over here. For expense, background will be danger, BG danger. At the end, we have to close the if clause like this. Sorry. Now that's fine. Now before going forward, let me apply my latest favorite font for the application. So go to Google Fonts. Name of the font family is Inter. So here it is. Select the weights 300, 400 and 700. Now let's copy paste this link reference inside the layout view. I will just paste that just above this site.css. Now open site.css and let's apply the font family here. And let's apply in general with this asterisk selector. So this will apply the font family to all the components, and here we have to exclude font awesome icons. So we can have this, and if you want to exclude the Syncfusion icons, you could do this. Save this, build the project, back to the view. That's it. Now we'll be populating this action column in a bit. Before that, let's apply the features like sorting and paging into this grid component here. We'll be using the default feature without any modification. You can check the documentation for further customization. So for sorting, we could do this. Allow sorting is equal to true. Now we could do the sorting like this. Now let's enable paging. For that, first of all, we have to set the property allow paging. Now here you could see the default paging. Now in the previous custom CSS rules that I have applied for the grid, I have customized these paging components also. Now if you want to customize that also, and we can use this tag page settings. We can specify the page size here. For now, let it be 5. So here we have the first page and here is the second page. Now what about this last column actions? Inside that we have to show the buttons for edit and delete operation. Before that, let me assign width for last 2 columns. For that we can make use of the property width. So these 2 columns will take the width as allocated here, and rest of the space will be allocated for the first column. Now in order to render the buttons for edit and delete, we have to use the template like we have used for this second column. Now let me copy paste this script template, and the ID will be action column template. Let's paste that here. Now let's get rid of this if clause. Now let's enclose everything with this div. Display will be flex row, then justify content start. Now first of all, we need an HTML element for the edit operation. So here we have an anchor element, and let's apply these bootstrap classes here. Now for an edit operation, we just need to make a get request to this action method add or edit with the corresponding ID. So we'll be passing the corresponding URL here /category /add or edit, and here we just need to provide the ID for the corresponding record. With that, we can make use of the string interpolation as you can see here. Category ID. And remember these properties category ID and type are present inside this data source that we have assigned. Now within this hyperlink, we will be showing a phone awesome icon for a pencil. Let's save this and build the project. Back to the view. Something went wrong. I think we have provided the ID without the prefix #simple. Yes, it is. The pencil icon for the edit operation is shown here, but it's not clear. Now let's try whether it is working or not. So here we have the record for travel category. Now let's change this title to the previous value. Submit the form. It is working properly fine. If you click on any of these buttons, you could see the outline. So let's deal with those appearances. So back to the start sheet. Here we deal with button styles. So here we have the button from Bootstrap. Let's customize it for the focus and active state. Outline, set it as none, then box shadow to none. Now let's add few CSS rules for the hyperlink. Let's disable some default hyperlink styles. For that, we'll be using this class no anchor decoration, and for the hover state also. Text decoration to none, and let's inherit the color. Let's apply this class to the hyperlink here. Let's build the project, back to the view, that's it. Now let's implement the final delete operation. For that, by default, inside the controller, we have two action methods. One is of the type get and one is of the type post. Okay, and here we have the corresponding view delete. As I have shown in previous tutorials, in order to implement the operation, we only need the delete post action method, and we'll make a post request using a form element from the front end. So I will get rid of this get action method here, and let me remove this delete view also. And this method is no longer needed in this project, so let me get rid of that. Now let me check what are the unused methods or action methods inside the controller. Here you could see the action method details of the type get. It's not that helpful to show the details of a record, so I will just remove this get action method here, and let's remove the corresponding view also. Now back to the index view. Along with this edit button, we need a button for delete operation, and also it should make a post request instead of a get request, as you can see here. The edit button is implemented with an anchor element here, and it is making a get request to this action method add or edit of the type get. But for the delete operation, it is always recommended to use a post request. We can delete requests within get request, but it is not a best practice because it is easy to make a get request with just passing the URL inside the web browser. It's not that easy to make a post request. We can even add more security into a form. Let me show you what I mean. Along with this anchor element, we'll be adding a form, and let's specify the action here. Let's specify the post URL, category /delete, then the ID of the record which is to be deleted. So delete, and the category of the corresponding row will be replaced here, and let's specify the method as post. Inside the form, we just need a button of the type submit. Let's add few Bootstrap classes, and here we have the custom class no anchor decoration, just to disable styles similar to the anchor element. Inside the button, we will be showing a phone awesome icon, and let's apply the text color as danger from Bootstrap. So this is how the button looks like. Now if you click on this submit button, it will make the post request to the corresponding action method here, and the corresponding record will be deleted because of the default code within it. First of all, it will check whether the DB set is null or not, and then it will retrieve the corresponding record for the given ID which is received with the ID parameter here. If there is such a record, then corresponding record will be deleted, and finally we will be redirected to the index method. Now before making a post request for the delete operation, it is always recommended to get a confirmation from the user side because delete is a loss of data. For that, I will be using the JavaScript confirm method. So here we have the onClick event. Inside that, we will just return the value from the confirm function. Now we have to pass the question here, are you sure to delete this record? Now there will be a syntax problem because we have enclosed this JavaScript code within the string, and inside that we have a nested double quotes. In order to avoid the confusion, instead of directly providing the double quotes, we could do this and simple, then quote, then a semicolon. Now let me copy this and let's replace these double quotes also. Now there is something we should be aware of. Now for any post action method created through scaffolding mechanism, you could see this tag here, validate anti-4G token. You could see the same for this add or edit post action method also. Now let me brief you how it works. The get action method of add or edit will return a view which is here, which is this form here. Whenever MVC renders a form into the view, it will also add the anti-forgery token. And while posting this form here, the same token will be returned to its post action method. So during the validation process, it will verify whether the received anti-forgery token is same as that we have generated and returned during the get action method. Now the same should be happen in case of this form that we have created. The only difference is that the anti-forgery token will not be there by default inside this form because we are adding that as a template inside this script type here. So we have to explicitly mention we need an anti-forgery token for this form. For that, we could use this html.anti-forgery token. Okay, let's build this project and back to the view. Let me delete this commission category. Now let's confirm the operation. Boom, that's it. So here we have implemented the correct operations using Syncfusion components. Similarly, next we are going to do the correct operations for the entity transactions. Apart from these Syncfusion components we have discussed, we'll be discussing about Syncfusion alternatives for commonly used components like drop-down list, date picker, numeric up-down, etc. Before that, I want to add something common to all the pages inside the application, which is the title and also the breadcrumb, which is used for showing the location of the page inside the application. First of all, I will start with the fav icon of this application, which you can see inside the web browser tab up above. So the default fav icon can be seen inside the application, inside this www root here. So this is what I have done. I have created a logo which is a PNG file, okay? And with the help of this website here, I have converted that PNG to fav icon, which you can see here inside this folder, okay? We just need to drag and drop these files inside this folder here. Confirm the replace operation. Back to the application. Let's reload this. It's not showing the new fav icon. So I will do this in my Chrome web browser. Control H for history. Now let's clear the browsing data. And then we just need to select this option for cached images and files, clear the data. Back to the app, let's reload the view. That's it. Now inside this tab title, you could see the action name index and then the name of the application. If you go to the form, it's different. Create, which was the previous name of the view, and then the name of the application, which is applied inside the layout view. So let's correct that here. Here we have the layout view. And this is where the title is applied. The view data title is applied from our views that we can see inside this index.cshtml here. Now let's remove this from here and from the add or edit view here. We are not going to use this view data. And let's change this title here. We just need the app name, which is expense tracker. Now let's add a heading section describing what this view is all about. For that, back to the layout view, just above this render body, we are going to add a new div using the Bootstrap grid system. Now here we have a flexbox div. Now let's apply a bottom margin here. And here we will be having the breadcrumb component in a bit. Just above that, let's add a div to describe the view. And here also we have some bottom margin. Inside that we have an h3 element. Now we'll be saving the title from each of the views that we have into this view data here. We'll be using this key page title. So let's pass the same from our views. So here we have the index view. Here I will set it as categories. Now let me copy paste this into this add or edit view. Now inside the view we have a form for both creating a new category and editing an existing category. So based on the value of the model ID, we can decide the title. So this is what we do. We have a ternary operator with the category ID. If it is equal to 0, we'll be showing create a new category. Else edit category. Let's build the project and back to the view. That's it. So here we have the index view. Let's go to the edit view. So the title is edit category. Now let's check the title inside the fresh form. For that I will edit this URL up here. So here we have the corresponding title. Now let me go back to the list of categories. At present, if you want to create a new category, we have to edit the URL manually. In order to avoid this, let's add a button inside the heading section here. So back to the layout, we'll be adding a new div here. Inside this we can have the button. Before that we need to enclose this heading in another div like this, and we'll be applying this bootstrap class flex grow 1. Okay, now let's wrap the heading with the new div here. Now this is how it works. Inside the second div we'll be having a button, and rest of the space after the div will be allocated to the heading div here. So here we have the button anchor. Let's apply the bootstrap classes. And here we have the link reference, and this will be passed through the view data. So it will be assigned from this page action URL. Now the text will be assigned from another view data, page action text. Now this anchor button is not necessary in all the views, only when this view data is assigned. So we'll be having this if clause. We'll be showing this anchor button only when this view data key is assigned. Now I want to show this action button inside this index view only, not inside this add or edit view. Okay, so let's assign those view data inside the index view. For creating fresh category, the URL will be like this: category/add or edit. Boom, that's it. Now in order to create a new category, we can make use of this button here. Now in order to go back to the list of categories or the index view, we'll be adding the breadcrumb component just below the title here. You can learn more about the component breadcrumb from this Syncfusion documentation here. See, in order to add the component, we could do this EJS breadcrumb. First, so for the ID, let's keep it as it is. We can make the customization in a bit. Let's build this back to the view. So by default, it looks like this. Now instead of this separator as a /, I want to use font awesome icon as a separator. So let's make the modification here. We can use this property separator template. So here we go, HTML raw. Since we are passing the HTML element into this property, we have to use this raw method. So here we have this span element, and let's apply the corresponding font awesome classes here. Make sure to close these tags accordingly. Otherwise you will get the red squiggly line as you can see here. Let's build the project back to the view. So that's it. Now let's go to the edit view. So here we have the corresponding breadcrumb. Now if you want to go back to the list of categories, you can click on this hyperlink here. Now in this breadcrumb, I just want to disable the default hyperlink styles here. So let's customize that inside the global style sheet. For now, we'll just paste the custom CSS here. So basically the Syncfusion component will be having this class by default, and here we have suppressed the default anchor element styles. Now it looks fine. In next video, we'll be designing the transaction form for demonstrating the Syncfusion components drop-down list and date picker. For more awesome videos like this, please consider subscribing to this channel called Affection if you haven't yet. If you found this video helpful, please like and share this video with your friends and colleagues.